and welcome to the latest episode of the Online Warriors podcast. That's right, I'm back. I have returned. My travel didn't kill me, but if it didn't, allergy season promises to potentially kill me.
What is your favorite allergy medicine, and have you started taking it?
What a topic.
Let me tell you about my favorite allergy medicine, and in fact, let me tell you about my favorite everything medicine. And also, let me tell you about a thing that my wife hates about me constantly.
Is it sleep?
I don't take medicine. No, I don't take
No, you're one of
My
those.
guy.
I don't believe in this. Is not my tip for the day.
I take
but I don't
pollen
believe
to
in
the
medicine.
face.
I'll like walk
That's
in
such a bad
our like,
take.
living room and I'll be like, I have a headache, and my wife's like, take some Tylenol. Not a sponsor. And I'm like, no. And that's happened like once a week for like the past 5 years.
You both are like that. And so like I have headaches, I feel like constantly, and I just like take Tylenol and move on with my day. But when Techtic has a headache, it's like, oh my God.
No, it's
And
like,
then-
I have a headache, just leave me alone. I want to lay down.
And then I'm like, well, did you take a Tylenol? And he's like, no. I'm just like, okay.
Well, here's what we're doing. Techtic, may I speak for you? Because I think I know where you're at, and it's the same place that I'm at. We're training. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
And the only reason
I'm not gonna
like, it's because she won't leave me alone.
Wow.
Right. I'm not gonna
you.
coddle. I'm not gonna coddle my body and my immune system. I'm gonna if there's a headache, I'm gonna be like, all right, boys, get out there and fight it. That's where I'm at.
Absolutely.
Allergies, same exact thing. I'm gonna sneeze. I'm gonna complain about it.
Let me ask you a follow-up
or just
question.
talk about it.
Do you need to take allergy medicine year-round or very, very frequently? Or is it just when it's like at its peak where you're like, maybe I need it?
There's probably like 2 weeks out of the 52 weeks a year where I feel it. I feel the allergens. And I think we're currently in that week, one of those 2 weeks. So no, it's not often at all.
Well, see, I was an all year rounder. I took Zyrtec all year round, and this is the first year. I mean, I usually wean off of it in the winter and I get super itchy and it's not a fun time. I think I already talked about that. But I think, and this is a very sad thing, I guess, but I think without the rabbit, I was allergic to the hay. And I think without the hay dust in the house, I have extended, like normally by this time of year, I would be popping Zyrtec like mad crazy. And I have not yet had to resort.
Sponsor.
Yeah, not a sponsor, but I've not yet had to do that. So
what if one of these was a sponsor? What if you were like talking about Zyrtec and then we were like, that's right, Zyrtec is available everywhere. We love it so much.
I mean, if Zyrtec wants to back the Zyrtec truck up to our house, that would be great because it's heckin' expensive. So when I do need it, it's just like my wallet bleeds. But right now they are not a sponsor.
You know what they call the Zyrtec truck?
No, what?
The Zyr truck. It's got a big label on the side and everything. Yeah, it's April. I'm back from my trip. I was in the tropics. Before you ask, or before you even wonder, because Techtic and Nerdbomber asked me this. I know I didn't get a tan. I might have gotten like one shade darker. When you go to that like Home Depot, again, not a sponsor, and you stand in front of that giant color wall of paints, I might have changed.
You went from white to eggshell white?
Essentially, I stayed on the same card. I got a little bit darker, but it's almost imperceptible. And then your wife is like, this one's so much different. You're like, no, it's not. It's the same. You know, that sort of thing. Because of SPF 50. That's why I'm not tan, but I'm also not really burned. So overall, I'm happy. And it's good to be back.
Is it though?
It is. Well, it's good to let me
podcast.
clarify. Yes, it's good to be back here. It's not good to be like, I had to go to work today. And I was like, what is this about? We're still going to do this?
You came back and it's like 38 degrees. So that can't be fun
so
either.
I came back and it was actually quite warm. But then like a day later, it was like, you know what? Just kidding. It's still like gloomy and bad. And I was like, that makes sense. But yeah, I didn't, as is my tradition, I did not listen last week. I know you guys were alone, probably necking again. I don't want to know. I mean, I want to know a little bit, but I don't want to know the gory details. I'm going to leave that between you guys and the listeners. But I'm back. We're at full strength. And we have a great episode today. We're going to be talking about Synthwave Boy, which if you don't know what that is, if you're like me and Techtic comes to you and says, we're going to talk about Synthwave Boy, and I said, I don't know what that is, then pause right now and just Google it. All you have to do is Google those two words, and you'll figure it out in like 5 seconds. We're going to be talking about HBO Max, or as it's soon to be called, Max. And we're going to be talking about the Marvels, of course. But before we get into all of that, special honeymoon edition of...
Ooh.
I still haven't named this segment yet. I feel like I'm open to
Illeagle's
suggestions.
Roost.
It can be the Illeagle's Roost. I want an acronym. Is that an unreasonable? Like, I want an acronym that spells something. You know, we'll call it the Illeagle's Roost for now, but I feel like that's subject to change. Anyways, this week's is a two-parter. All right. Because I didn't want to be exclusatory is not a word. I didn't want to exclude anyone from the advice. Okay. And so there are two pieces of advice. They're both related. The first one is for people who are a part of a couple.
Hey, that's me.
You guys both qualify. I qualify. Anyone who's a part of a couple and is traveling qualifies for this. It's pretty simple. I don't know if you guys did this when you went on your honeymoon, which was last year. It's self-explanatory. When you're going on your honeymoon, I'm walking through the airport with my wife, and I turned to her and I said, look, whenever we have an opportunity on this trip, we're going to tell anyone who will listen that we were on our honeymoon. Do you know why?
Free stuff.
Free stuff. Free stuff, baby. Our first flight down to the tropical location we were going to got upgraded to first class just because we said that we were on our honeymoon.
What is first
Sheer
class
happenstance.
like? I have never been.
At 5 a.m. on a flight that lasts like an hour and 5 minutes, it's really not much of anything. It's not like the movies. Let me temper your expectations immediately. It was great, don't get me wrong, and it was a really cool thing that like we got upgraded. But it's like the seats are bigger and they serve you a drink before takeoff.
Wait, it was only an hour and a half flight?
It was 2 flights. We only got upgraded to first class on our first flight, which was the shorter flight. We had like a 4.5 hour flight after that, and then we sat in coach with the
The peons.
with the plebes, yeah, and that was fine. So yeah, that's tip number 1. When you're traveling and you're with a couple, always say, I'm going to be saying I'm on my honeymoon every time I travel with my wife now. And don't get me wrong, I'll be lying. But this brings me to my second piece of advice, which is even more exclusive. This is advice for anyone who works for an airline. So if you're out there, if you listen to the podcast and you work for Delta or American or United or even Frontier, I don't know, comp first class. And I'm going to shout out the specific airline that this happened, Delta Airlines. John Mulaney does a whole bit about Delta Airlines and how bad they are, but let me fly in the face of that and say Delta is great. And
Nice
because
pun,
this guy
by the
comped
way.
as first class, I was about to say I podcast for a living, but that's not even true. But I wanted it to sound like I knew what I was talking about. But Delta comped as first class. It probably cost them like 2 cents to do that. It probably didn't even cost them anything, because I don't even think we got any of the fancy drinks. It cost them no money to do it. But now, whenever I'm going to choose flights, like if I'm going somewhere for work or something, I'm going to choose Delta because they did a nice thing. It's a win-win situation. That's my point. Say you're on your honeymoon and fly Delta. I guess that's my other piece of advice. But if you work for an airline, comp first class. If the first class isn't full, just like look for people on their honeymoon and give them first class. Let's spread the joy of that.
Or just look for people and give them first class.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be a honeymoon couple. It could be anybody. If first class isn't full, fill it up because you're gonna earn some goodwill.
Hey, I say
And
just buy
potential return
drinks for
customers.
everybody but the pilot, because it'll be a party.
Right. Well, that might get expensive. Have you ever bought a drink on an airplane? This is a side topic, but have you guys ever bought a drink on an airplane?
Yeah, absolutely.
It doesn't feel good for me. I
Well,
did
the
it
cups
once.
are tiny.
I got a little bottle of wine, and I think it costs like $18 or something. I don't even know.
I've done 2. One bought it for me. I told everyone, I just turned 21.
Did you say it like that? 'Cause that's really unfortunate.
And so like elderly people would like buy me booze on planes because they
So
were like,
is
"I'm gonna
this
get this
like-
kid his drink."
Is this tip section just how to be shiesty on airplanes?
I think for this week, yeah.
Yeah, I guess so.
And I'm proud of that. Yeah. We need to take these airlines for all they're worth. Shout out to Delta Airlines. I don't know if shiesty is the right word. Thrifty. Is that better or is that worse?
I mean, when
Be
you get into like
thrifty on
line
airplanes.
territory, I feel like that's firmly planted in the shiesty. But
Cagey. I don't know. Be something on an airplane. Try to get old people to buy you free drinks. Is that what you're saying, Techtic? Was it specifically an old person bought you a drink because you had just turned 21?
Yeah.
Wow.
I tried milking it. It worked the first time, so I tried it again a couple of other times, and it worked again, and then I stopped.
You got out before it got too hard.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, shout out to Delta Airlines. Proud of you. I'm proud of us for going on our honeymoon. It was amazing. No further details at this time. I'll give another update in What Are You Up To Wednesday. But for now, let's talk about the Marvels, because this is a big deal. I think you could probably say this is the biggest story we have this week, or at least the biggest one we're talking about. We got a trailer last week. We of course see Captain Marvel. We see, is it Monica Rambeau? I think it is, and Kamala Khan. The three of them purportedly. So they're the Marvels. We have reached the point. And I don't know if you guys are at this point too. I think this is one of the bigger jumping off points of like, this is a movie now where they have a TV show character who I did not watch the show. I do not know who this is. And she's going to play a major role. So this is another decision point, very similar to The Mandalorian, where I'm like, all right, am I going to go back and am I going to watch that show? Is the show Miss Marvel? Is that what the show is called?
yes, I believe so.
Am I going to go back and watch that to why. Well, I'm not even going to pose this question. The answer is no. I'm not going to do that. But what I'm wondering is are people going to?
I feel like you probably don't need to. We haven't watched it yet either. I feel like we will end up going back and rewatching it, or I guess watching it for the first time. But I feel like they have to bridge the gap somehow because they can't assume that everybody has Disney Plus. They can't assume that everybody's watched it. So they're going to have to introduce her again in the movie in some way. And I think that they'll be able to do that because she's obviously going to be a new character to Captain Marvel and Monica. Like, they're going to have to meet and explain who she is.
From the trailer, too, we know that they obviously haven't met yet because she, like, teleported into her room. And so she was like, where the heck am I? So we know that hasn't happened yet if you haven't seen the series. So we're good there. We haven't missed anything there. There was, like, a couple, like, Easter eggy things that link this show to the movie that I was reading about. But all in all, I think it should be safe to just go in and watch this without any pre-context.
Now, and I think you're probably right. And I think that there is room. I mean, how many movies have we seen where like a character can serve as the audience, right? Captain Marvel can say, who the heck are you? And then, Kamala Khan is telling both her and the audience, right? So it's not a hard thing to work around necessarily. It's just, it's less about the explanation and more about if that's what they're going to do, then why make the show at all? Like, I don't want to get into those existential weeds quite yet because there are little things I want to talk about in this trailer, but like it's dollar sign.
I know. I think it's a way to flesh out backstories and origin stories for characters without having to make a movie.
Yeah, I don't think they felt that Kamala Khan had like movie-worthy, I guess, intro, which I think is not fair because I think she did, but I'm not a decision maker at Marvel.
I think what's interesting about this movie too, in terms of tying it back, because even like Monica has a very big part in WandaVision.
And that's how she got her powers in WandaVision.
And I think because, I mean, one of my biggest critiques of Captain Marvel is not even, like, I know people are like ragging on Brie Larson for her portrayal of Captain Marvel. I don't understand that. I didn't think she was a bad Captain Marvel. I think the character was just misused. I think after the origin story movie, they just kind of like had her go off and disappear and then brought her back in weird pivotal moments without any explanation. It made her super powerful.
I was fighting other stuff.
Yeah. And I think what this will do, because she kind of has been an absentee character in all of the other movies, aside from, pivotal fight scenes, I think by bringing her in and, now introducing her to two characters that tie into that Disney Plus universe, which almost feels like a separate entity at this point. I think that because she's going to be hella confused, just like all the people who didn't watch the Disney Plus shows, that's how they're going to bridge the gap.
I agree for the record. Like, I think she's been misused. I think the Captain Marvel, the first movie was like pretty good. And in fact, maybe better than it was given credit for at the time.
I agree. People were just hating on Brie Larson for some reason.
Right. I don't have a problem with her either, but I agree. Like, in particular, when she shows up in Endgame, which, spoiler alert, but also everyone on the planet's seen that movie at this point. Like, it just feels so meh and like not like, and like you said, she's so powerful. She's too powerful. She's in Superman territory, which you never want to see. Now, there's a couple other things here. Clearly, between this and Secret Invasion, like, they're rolling the red carpet out for Nick Fury. There's going to be a lot of Fury content coming up here, which I feel generally good about. But that's another character I think they're going to have to explain a lot about, like, hey, man, where were you? There's a lot going on.
Well, he's been doing some, like, weird stuff, too.
And we're going to find out about that, I guess, is what the principle is here. But
yeah, I mean, we got the spoiler that, like, he had, like, Kree's soldiers stepping in on as him.
Right. But why? Because we just complained about Captain Marvel being like, I was off doing more important stuff. It's like, why didn't we see the more important stuff? I think you can make the same exact argument for Nick Fury. So I'm curious how that's all going to shake out. But also I'm curious about cats. Let's talk about cats for a second.
Oh, there's an army of cats.
There's going to be an army of cats. Is that, am I correct in drawing that conclusion from the 2 seconds of this trailer where we saw a bunch of cats? Are they all going to have...
It's the same conclusion I drew, so I concur. Army of cats. Tentacles.
And they're all going to have, the tentacular, like, protrusion. I don't know. The cat has a name, too. I cannot think of it because I was in the first Captain Marvel, but I don't remember the name of the cat now.
Isn't it like Snowball? I feel like it's Snowball. Or Mr. Whiskers.
No,
it's a cute name.
The cat's not white, so I feel like it's like Goose or something. I don't know. Someone fact check us on that. Drop us a line on Twitter at OW Illeagle 86, at OW Techtic, at OW Nerdbomber, and our main show account at Online Warriors 1. What's the name of that cat? Someone can check into that for us. But yeah, there's things about this that I really like. I love space. I think Brie Larson is still good. I agree. I think people have been very hard on her. I'm always going to want to watch Nick Fury. I think he's always a compelling character. They're really, and I think the trailer did some interesting things in terms of like, we get it. There's a multiverse. Like, I feel like they were reminding us again and again, like there's multiverse stuff happening. It's like, yeah, we know what's going on. Like we're in, at least to some extent, in this ecosystem because we're a part of American society. Every time they go back into multiverse stuff,
I don't even know.
Teleportation-y stuff.
Was it multiverse,
I think it's multiverse
or was it
stuff.
just teleportation? Because obviously, like, it's the same people. Like, they're not pulling different versions of the same people, at least in this trailer. They still have the same memories.
It's more like quantum stuff.
Yeah. I think, doing that. And so to collect my thoughts a little bit, I think in this trailer, if you would not have told me this tied into the greater MCU and I didn't watch Disney Plus, to me, this almost seems like a standalone Captain Marvel type movie. And I kind of like it. Like, there's no connection necessarily to the Avengers. I know obviously these characters are all connected to the Avengers and the MCU in some way, but like they don't really mention it. Captain Marvel has been herself removed from the Avengers and that entire plot line for so long. And Nick Fury, obviously, like the real Nick Fury, has been removed from that plot line for so long that I'm kind of hoping that we get something that doesn't tie into the greater MCU and it's just kind of like a fun, weird teleportation, energy, superpower vibe thing. And we learn about the alien subplot that isn't necessarily connected to the multiverse, because I don't give a hoot about the multiverse. I really hate that that's the direction we're going in.
I was going to say, you better start giving a hoot about it, because that's like, where we're all going.
If it's just like an alien storyline, if there's like a side storyline to the greater MCU, like if it almost branches off and we get an alien storyline like the Kree storyline, that would be cool to me, because that's what I liked about the original Avengers.
So it's 100% going to be a continuation of the Kree storyline.
I'm just saying I hope it doesn't tie back into multiverse crap, because I don't want that. Have it be a separate story.
Yeah, and I agree. I think that's what they're going to do. We know who the main villain's going to be. She's going to be played by Zawe Ashton. And according to IMDb, it's saying that she's cast as Dar-Ben, who is a Kree emperor. So you already know that. We've gotten snippets of the weapon she's using, which is a sort of a galactic weapon. It's called the Cosmopole. So we know that that's all kind of supported and fixed on that, assuming the IMDb allocation of her character is correct, because that's the comic version of Dar-Ben is a male character, and they switch it to a female character, which I think I like. I like that they're very focused on strong female characters, and in the first one, it was sort of man versus woman, which seems like it was taken weird, like people didn't like that. And
I mean, the internet, the internet gets angry.
I like that they made Dar-Ben a female character, because now it shows that she'll kick anybody's ass, independent of gender. So way to go.
Yeah, I think, and it sounds like you did some research, because I was actually going to mention, and I think a kind of a pivotal question, a pivotal way of answering the question you posed, Nerdbomber, which is, how much is this going to hinge on multiversal stuff? It depends on who they're fighting. And like, if you watch the trailer, at least based on my memory, you don't really see them fighting a lot of folks, and like the villain is not introduced. It's more so just like hijinks associated with them teleporting with each other, which I get that's a big part. I think it's fine. I'm just saying who they're fighting is going to be very important in determining where this is going.
In the last bit of the trailer,
or something else.
When they're in like a cockpit fighting someone, that's where we see Dar-Ben fighting the Marvels. It's her. So you just got to kind of quick glance to see it, that it's a different actress.
Well, this is I think it's coming this fall, November 10th.
I think
only
I
in
might
theaters,
see
which I always
this one.
find it, and it says only in theaters, so you have to go to the theater to watch it. I hate when they do that. It's not going to be only in theaters. I can see it whenever I want afterwards.
I will say, like, I am behind on the Marvel movies. I haven't watched the new Black Panther. I haven't watched Ant-Man. I feel like there's another one that we haven't watched as well.
Did you see Multiverse of Madness?
We did see that. And I think, I'll catch up on them eventually, but I think I would actually watch this one relatively soon after its release, just because it looks a little bit different, at least. It kind of has the vibe to me. You know, remember when Guardians first came out, the very first one, and like you could instantly tell it had a different vibe from where the rest of the MCU was trending at the time? Like it wasn't part of the...
It was fully an offshoot.
Yeah, it was fully an offshoot. And this kind of has that vibe. And I know, like I said, they're interconnected still, but it kind of has like an offshoot feel. And that's what I want. That's what I need so bad. I just want fun movies that I don't need to do homework for.
Did you see The Eternals?
That's the one that we were missing. Yeah, didn't see that one either.
And that was like, I think multiple years ago, that one at this point. But I don't know how important that is, you know? Like I didn't see it and I've seen things since then and like, who cares?
Well, that's the thing too. Like watching this one, and I guess the same can be said for Black Panther, but watching this trailer, like, you know, Captain Marvel is going to be a pinnacle moving forward in some capacity. And Nick Fury is also like a big character. So, you know, it's going to like matter. Whereas like the Eternals, who even knows what's happening with that? Did that matter? I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah. As far as Wakanda Forever, I saw 15 minutes of it playing on someone else's seat back on the plane on one of my flights.
I do, like, I have to sit down and watch it. I do have to sit down and watch it. I feel like that's a good movie and I need to just dedicate the time to it. But it's also a long movie and that's partly why I haven't dedicated the time to it.
Was it, like, deemed good? I actually don't know how that wound up doing on the review cycle.
I can't remember. It was deemed important. I don't know if it was deemed good.
You'll have to report back. There's your homework. I knew you wanted some. So yeah, the Marvels, November 10th, apparently only in theaters. But that's not actually true. I'm just reading the tweet where it says that. Let's move on to Synthwave Boy, which I know what you're thinking. One of us has become a superhero, and that's our superhero name. No.
I make a loud
not quite.
screech like this.
Oh, I hated that. I really hated that.
I thought it was fine. I thought it was interesting. So who here knows about Lo-Fi Girl? Because I'm going to out myself here and say...
You don't know Lo-Fi Girl?
I don't know
Dude,
Lo-Fi
as someone
Girl.
who,
I don't
like,
listen to Lo-Fi.
You should.
Oh my goodness. It's such a chill, like, work vibe. Like, I just,
feel like
can grind.
You're the type of person who loves music without words for working, which is why you like music scores and stuff like that, like movie, film.
And they do covers of everything.
I feel
which
like
means I'm all set.
You could get into lo-fi music and it's just good. It's just a different vibe than listening to film scores and game scores. It's just a different vibe. So when you're looking for something that isn't necessarily like going to get you sweaty, because like I gotta be honest, some of the film scores and game scores that you listen to, like that would make me kind of tense when I'm working. I'd feel like I'm on like a spy adventure, and I would feel like
it depends what you want.
Check out lo-fi. It's not gonna get you sweaty.
It's not gonna get you sweaty.
But here, counter argument. Sometimes I want to be sweaty.
Right, but like, sometimes you don't.
Sometimes I'm coding and I'm like, I need to write this thing fast and good. And like I put on like some sort of techno bop or like some intense movie score, like, you know, Dark Knight or something. And it gets me there. Other times I need to put on some very smooth, classical, soothing stuff. But movie scores can fill every single one of those voids. Lo-fi is lo-fi. Like it's a very specific thing. I don't want to call it elevator music because that feels diminutive and that's not what it is. But like, is it not akin to that? Is it not akin to when you're walking around like a Walgreens? You're
speaking out of ignorance, and I want you to do a homework and just listen to it, and then by all means, you can call it elevator.
Yeah, I want you, the next time you're throwing down some code on the old clicker clackers, I want you to put some lo-fi in for like 15 minutes. Just give it a whirl.
The old clicker clackers. I don't have a clicker clacker. I think my people at my office would kill me if I had one. I kind of wish I did, though. That's besides the point, though.
Any keyboard kind of clicker clacks, no matter how quiet it is, you're clicker clacking.
Yeah, but the really clacky ones, I want one of those. I'm not going to lie. Lo-Fi Girl, she's a character on a YouTube channel, which I believe is called Synthwave Radio. And something crazy happened on April 10th. So as we're recording this, it was last week. She disappeared. So
hang on.
This
Rewind,
channel.
Rewind.
Yeah. This,
so picture this: an animated girl with headphones on, just clicking and clacking, as Nerdbomber calls it, on her computer. And in the distance, there's a normal blue light that's always on in a window in the distance. It starts flashing, which whatever, fine. Then all of a sudden, she turns to it, looks at the window, says, "What's going on over there?" Bam! She's gone. The internet goes nuts. Where did she go? Where is Lo-Fi Girl? What was that flash? Was it an SOS? What were they singing? People tried to decipher what was this code? It was a code. It was Morse code. It took them to a website, said something's coming. What's coming? Then all of a sudden,
I feel like we've become a true crime podcast.
we start
I love
to
this
move.
vibe.
We start to zoom. We start to zoom in into the window. Closer, closer, closer. We're in a room. All we see is a door. No one knows what this door is. Just staring at the door. The time's clicking. The date's moving. All of a sudden, a character starts making some noises, appears on the screen. The character then goes to the door, opens it up. We're in a new room. Intro, Synthwave Boy. A new channel has been born.
And his dog.
And his dog. And like...
Possibly the most important character in all of this.
Lo-Fi Girl has a cat also. This is a important note.
The reason why I wanted to talk about this, what a freaking awesome way to introduce a channel. You've not only hyped it, you've promoted it very subtly. You've gotten buzz about it, and
So is it a new channel?
It's a new channel with a different style of music. So now this is going to be, instead of lo-fi, this is synthwave, which is a little bit more...
So lo-fi's gone.
it's a little more elevator music-y.
No, synthwave is not elevator music. So like Lo-Fi Girl is still there. She came back. Now there's two channels. There's Lo-Fi Girl and Synthwave Boy. Different distinct channels based on the vibe that you're going for. Lo-Fi Girl is more chill. Synthwave Boy is more like Rocket League music. And if you've played Rocket League,
beats,
you know what I'm talking about.
Hold on. It says beats to chill /game 2. So you can still chill.
Yeah, I mean it's still chill music, but it's a little more housey, if that makes sense.
But what this
Let me understand this. So Synthwave Boy they basically changed the name of this channel, and then Lo-Fi Girl just popped up on a new channel.
Well, Lo-Fi
How did
Girl
they
has always
orchestrate
had
the switch?
Lo-Fi Girl has always had her own channel and video, because this
Right,
is
but
like
I
a
thought the
24-hour
video-
stream.
Sure, but I thought the video was building up
kind
to
of diverted.
Synthwave Boy revealing, and then they just revealed it. But you had to switch videos to get to him.
Yeah.
Sounds like you had to switch videos.
Now, what's really, really cool about this and why it was noteworthy of talking is they've introduced a whole lore, in my opinion. And this is for me personally, this is now gonna keep me on tabs. Well, what's Lo-Fi Girl up to? What's Synthwave Boy up to? Is there I don't know, Heavy Metal Cat? I'd like to see Heavy Metal Cat. What are they doing these days?
It's world building at its finest, and I do agree. It's super fun. Clearly, whoever did it put a lot of thought into it, and it's gonna pay off dividends for them whenever the next thing happens. I'm hoping for grandma. It's gonna be like new age grandma, and it's gonna be like have people looked at the Synthwave Boy? Because when you look out his window, you can see multiple lights in the distance. Presumably, one of those is Lo-Fi Girl. But then there's like other windows where maybe there's a grandma.
No,
in there.
Lo-Fi Girl is the other direction. Lo-Fi Girl is in the camera direction. So those can't go back. Those windows can't go back to Lo-Fi Girl. It has to, I guess.
So he's sitting right between two windows. Then is that the theory?
Twixt two windows. Yeah.
Twixt two windows. So it's just going to keep going on and on and on, away from Lo-Fi Girl, over to New Age Grandma, and then over to like Doo-Wop Dougie or whatever they call the next guy. Like
Doo-Wop Dougie.
I agree. I think it's really fun. I think it's great world building. So there's really Morse code. Was the light was blinking on the window and it read to a website? I didn't know about that part.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like I love the internet. Like we've got ace detectives out there. I swear it's amazing.
Yeah. Shout out to Leap who figured that out, because obviously I was a passenger on this journey and I wasn't even really a passenger because I don't listen to this stuff. But
yeah, I've only taken the time to
cool.
learn SOS in Morse code, which if you didn't know, 3 fast flashes, 3 slow flashes, 3 fast flashes. That'll save your life one day. You're welcome.
Another fun fact about SOS before we go to break. Do you know what it stands for?
Sauce.
Save our ship.
No, it stands for nothing. There's it's not an acronym.
So technically I was right.
Yeah, you were. I also thought save our ship. No, I think it literally just because it's the easiest thing to do, because it's just ... dash dash ... It's easy to do and also easy to recognize. They're just that's it. SOS, baby. That's our Mayday signal. So that's a fun fact for you for today, listeners. Here's another fun fact for you. We have a Patreon. We also have a Patreon producer. That's the most fun fact. Mr. Stephen Keller is our Patreon producer. He is our knight, our stalwart, noble knight. Yeah, he's a knight. And he supports us at the highest of our 3 levels on Patreon. As a result, he gets this shout out at the midpoint of every episode. He also gets input into the weekly game segment, which Nerdbomber is hosting this week. And also, he, of course, gets access to the monthly secret segment and vlog and the occasional guest spot on the show. There is also a Squire level of support, which gets him access, well, gets anyone who is a Squire access to the monthly secret segment and vlog, and a page level, which gets you access to the monthly secret segment. All of those details on all of those levels are over at patreon.com/onlinewarriorspodcast. Go over there, check out what we have to offer, say hi to Steven, say hi to us. Consider giving back to this show that hopefully you've been listening to for a while now. We've been doing it for a while, and we enjoy doing it, and hopefully you enjoy listening to it. So yeah, thanks again to Steven. Again, it's patreon.com/onlinewarriorspodcast. We're going to take a short break now, come back, and talk about Max. I'm never going to say that without laughing. We're going to come back and talk about Max. So yeah, stick with us, and we'll be back in a second.
We're going to take it back a little bit. Back to 1992.
Oh, yeah, that song. It was like almost on my list, but it just didn't make it.
All right, you're bringing in wrestling references now.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to bring in a little bit of everything. I heard that song so many times at a strip club.
Who hasn't heard it at a strip club?
I'm sure it's being played at some strip club right now.
I know it's a Christmas song.
Yeah, you went weird on this, Brian. I'm sorry.
Bro, this is left field, man.
I don't care. It is such a great song.
What's up, everyone? This is Gomez.
And I'm Brian.
And we're the dynamic duo and co-hosts of Playlist Wars,
a podcast where we, along with a special guest, pick a musical artist, band, or topic, and each create a 10-song playlist that we feel best represents them.
Then we turn it over to you to vote for which one of us got it right.
You can find us at playlistwarspodcast.com
or wherever fine podcasts are found.
All right, well, May 23rd is coming up. It's in a little over a month. And HBO has done the thing that we've heard they were going to do for a while, which is combine with Discovery Plus and renaming HBO Max to become Max. I'm sure you've all seen the tweets at this point, dragging HBO for this decision, and they're all correct. This is like one of the worst decisions that's ever been made. I don't know how they thought this was a good idea.
I mean, to be clear, putting Discovery Plus content onto HBO Max is a good decision because I don't know many people who are subscribing specifically to Discovery Plus. Rebranding
we were.
the service? You were?
Yeah.
Why?
My wife likes that. I don't watch anything on there, but my wife likes stuff on there. Couldn't say right now what specifically they have that she likes, but there's at least one thing on there that she seeks out. But that like, part I'm fine with.
Putting it on HBO Max, like combining your assets, makes sense. Rebranding your asset?
Yeah, HBO is the thing that people go, okay, let's go to the HBO app. Like, it's like, no one ever calls it HBO Max.
As branding decisions go, it is historically bad.
What if they called it the
don't think there's any
Max?
way to get around that.
Would that have helped?
You need to,
I don't think so.
HBO needs to be involved in the title in some way. The fact that it's not, again, is just like, I don't know. It's going to cost $16 a month, but we'll have several price tiers. I don't fully know. So we have HBO Max through our cable provider. I don't know to what extent that's going to be changing. I assume it probably will, but I haven't heard anything about it.
We get HBO Max through our cable provider, and I got an email about the change, and it basically told me that nothing was impacted for me except for new content.
Okay, well that's good because that's what I was hoping for. But I guess I don't understand. This isn't a very long story. Like that's pretty much the story. May 23rd, this is happening. I just want to understand why. And I don't know that I can. Like HBO, the brand HBO, like you said, in a basic sense, people are going to seek it out because it's HBO and it has name recognition. It has a lot of prestige television. I'm currently watching Succession on HBO. It's an HBO. It's premium cable. That's what it is. Why you would take that away and just call it Max, which, by the way, in and of itself is not a very good name.
Well, it's also confusing because Cinemax also exists as a premium cable channel. That is just very confusing then.
Yeah, it's just like, I don't know if it's lack of creativity. I don't know if someone forgot about a deadline or something. It's just like, how is this what you came up with? These are two like multi-billion-dollar streaming services probably. They're coming together and being like, let's make a new name. And I guess Discovery Plus just like had no part in making the new name. Like, I don't know. I mean, part of this is like, there's Discovery Plus, there's Apple TV Plus, there's, HBO Max. Like, to some extent, there's Disney Plus. Like, to some extent, these names are all going to start sounding similar. So you can't just call it like Max Plus, because then there's, which plus is it? But there has to be something better than this.
You have to have your flagship brand on it. It would be like, I'm trying to think. So Disney Plus has National Geographic stuff, correct?
Correct.
It would be like Disney rebranding Disney Plus to just be national. And you'd be like,
or just
what?
No, I think it's more like, hey, Disney Plus is getting National Geographic content, and because of that, they're just going to call themselves Plus. I think it's like that. It's like, why would you? No, you're Disney. Disney is a prestige brand. HBO is a prestige brand. Like, yeah, I'm not saying you should call it Discovery anything or National Geographic anything. You should call it HBO Max. Like, the thing about it is, like, I don't know if this was caused by a kerfuffle of like Discovery. It was like, you can't just keep calling it HBO because we're here too now. It's like, no, if they change away from HBO and like take HBO out of the name, it hurts you as well because now people don't know what Max is and they care less about it.
I wouldn't be surprised though.
There's
in life, one thing you learn is that egos tend to sometimes push forward independent of logic.
Honestly, though, like at that point, because Warner Brothers owns both HBO and Discovery, correct?
That is correct.
Yeah, why
so,
wouldn't they step in?
Yeah, no, at that point, if you don't want it to be attributed to either HBO or Discovery, then you call it WB.
Call it Warner Brothers.
Yeah, WB
Yeah.
Plus or something, or WB Max, and then bada bing, bada boom, problem solved. At least it's still like
that
a
would
prestige name.
Yeah, that would be better than this. But then again, you know what else would be better than this? Anything at all. Like I can't believe this is what they came up with. It's mind-boggling to me. I do think like Warner Brothers. I do not think of Discovery or the Discovery Channel as a Warner Brothers property. I happen to know that HBO is a Warner Brothers property. But that's probably just because HBO is a bigger deal. I don't know.
But
why
I mean, I would never associate Discovery with HBO either. So even if they kept the name HBO Max, I wouldn't think initially like, oh, that's where I go for my Discovery stuff. You know what I mean?
I do. I think Discovery needs to, assuming they were the ones that threw up a roadblock, which is a big assumption. We don't know what happened here, but like they need to step off their high horse and realize that it's in their best interest to glom onto HBO and use the HBO name. I think it's as simple as that.
Honestly, I think some of the problem is just, and I know we've talked about this probably ad nauseum, too many streaming services, and we're getting too many slices of the pie. I feel like if you went back, 10 years might even be too far. If you go back though, like 8 years ago, because I think that's when like Roku's were just starting to get big and stuff like that. You basically just had Netflix and Hulu, and Amazon Prime was like dipping their toes into the streaming game. And all of the individual companies just put their content on Netflix and Hulu. And I know more options should inherently be good for the consumer, but at this point, because everything is so segmented, we're paying for all of these individual services, which have less content than what we used to be paying for like 8 years ago. And again, I understand inflation, whatever, but we're paying more for more services that individually have less content. And it's also just very confusing because some content houses are associated with things that we wouldn't think of, like HBO and Discovery. I would never in my mind before this announcement even think of them under the same roof. Like, it's just very confusing now. And it was kind of nice when there was only two.
Think about this very carefully. What is the best streaming service name right now in the game?
Peacock.
That is I totally forgot about Peacock. That's a pretty good answer.
I mean, I think short and concise, Apple TV Plus, bam, makes sense.
It is not short. It is neither short nor concise.
Well, no, because it's Apple. It's the Apple TV service, and their original content is what you access under the Plus moniker.
My answer is Hulu because it is short and concise. Like Hulu has the benefit of not having a bigger brand tied to it, and so they can just make up a short nonsense word that's memorable. But it works. It sticks. I think it's the best one. It's the best name, I should say. I think Amazon Prime is also pretty good, but I think Apple TV Plus is not great. I think Disney Plus is very generic. I think Max is just straight up dumb. And I think Netflix actually sounds kind of dated. Like that sounds like you're surfing the net in like the 90s. It's a weird connotation with that word. Anyways, I don't know. Warner Brothers, you're really dumb. That's like, I want to talk about this because I can't believe it happened. And if there's one thing I love, it's watching a company get dragged on the internet. And boy, did they get dragged on the internet, which also incidentally happened with Netflix because of the Love is Blind reunion.
Oh, I'm so salty about that still. I waited an hour and a half, and then I had to use the backdoor method of going to.
Would you say this is what you were up to?
No.
Yeah, we can.
No, I don't think this is a what are you up
to?
Because like we've talked about Love is Blind. I think this is just more in like terms of streaming. I just want to like make a note that for one of the largest streaming providers in the game, they decided to host the live event for the first time and just fumbled the bag. And like to see it even remotely live, you had to do a weird workaround that you find on Twitter. People like, I know people hate on TikTok, but people were live streaming it on TikTok because only like portions of subscribers were able to even start streaming it on time. So TikTok was like the ultimate savior of the day, because I know it's like probably illegal for these people to have been streaming a Netflix show, but they were setting up their phones and streaming the live stream so people could watch it. And it's just like, how do you fumble the bag that bad? Streaming
my
is
wife
just rough.
She watched it today, and she was like, it wasn't that big of a deal. She's like, it was not a whole lot happened. So, but yeah, I love watching Netflix because like Blockbuster was tweeting like, whoops. And like, I just think that's always funny when that happens. So shout out to Netflix for absolutely blowing it on the national stage. Let's transition to what are we up to? What are you up to Wednesday?
What are you up to
Wednesday?
Okay, so Techtic. I think you earned. I mean, you were both good, but I think Techtic really took it home there at the end. So why don't you start us off?
Okay, so a couple things. The first thing, just because I like to get this out of the way, is the generic, hey, home improvement projects have started. So yay for the weather getting warmer. We're starting to swap out all of our railing on our outdoor patio. And boy, is that fun. But you guys don't want to hear about that nonsense. You guys want to know what I've been playing, right? And so what I've been playing is another throwback on the Game Boy Advanced, abso-freaking-lutely, and that is Zoids Legacy. This game plays kind of like Pokemon meets Final Fantasy, I guess.
It's pronounced Pokemon, but keep going.
Where you have to catch all the Zoids, but like although it could just be Pokemon because it's very turn-based, but it's like you have to monitor hit points and like your stances and things like that. So it takes inspiration from a little bit of both, and it's kind of a fun game. It's like really like mind-numbingly fun, where it's like there's not a lot of like puzzles or anything like that. You just kind of play through it, and it's a good time. And then the last thing was I don't care what you guys say, boom or bust, I enjoyed the Netflix Love is Blind reunion. It was just the absolute cringiness that I came here for, right? I mean, people were saying things that you're just like, shut up, Zach. What are you talking about? Like, you're making everyone uncomfortable unnecessarily. And like, that's why we watch it. We watch it for cringe. And I thought it was entertaining. So that's been what I've been up to in a quick, concise nutshell.
Well, for the record, I always look forward to hearing about your home improvement projects, even in passing. So keep that content coming. And also, Zoid sounds like a candy from like the 90s. I know that's not what it is, but that's
come on. You didn't have Zoids growing up? Like the actual like
did not have
model?
No.
And they like they were like powered with little motors. You turn them on, they like the robots walk. They're pretty cool.
No, I missed the boat on that one.
Too busy. Honestly, you'd probably enjoy them. Basically, picture a Lego model that actually like moves and functions.
Hey man, there are Lego models that move and function. A lot of them.
Right, but like not like this.
That's what I was doing.
Zoids were on a different level. Trust me when I say this. They were.
Zoids were on fleek. Were they on fleek? Would you say?
Yeah, I'd say they were that.
Okay. I'm going to go next. Obviously, as you all know, as I mentioned before, I did go on vacation, so I was doing that. But in the midst of that, I did do a lot of reading. I did finish the first book of the Expanse series. It was fantastic. I will be continuing that. But I'm taking a little break, a little detour. While I was out at the resort, I had my Kindle and I started bouncing around to like library books and unearthed what I think was like one of the most popular books of like 2016 or 2017, I think is when this happened, called The Gold Finch. If anyone remembers that.
Oh, snap. Yeah. I read that this summer.
They made a movie also that I have not yet seen, but I'm about a third of the way through that one. And it's really fantastic. It's like, it's going from the science fiction kind of popcorniness of The Expanse, which is great, and going directly to The Gold Finch, which I would characterize more as like literature or trying to be literature. It was a bit of a hard left turn.
Literature. It is. Yeah. I mean, it won a ton of awards when it came out.
It's really, really good so far. I'm really, really enjoying it, so I'm going to be continuing to read that. I also want to shout out Succession, which I believe was, I don't know if we mentioned that before that we got on air or after, but it's the show where Techtic is in. So Techtic, congratulations on season 4 of Succession. It's great. The show is really good so far. I can't say much else without spoiling things.
He's implying I look like Jeremy Strong, by the way.
You do, and everyone says so, not just me. But that show's fantastic. I think we're about 4 episodes into the new season. This is the last season, so there's a lot of stakes. There's a lot of hype on the line. And then finally, I want to shout out a movie that I watched. Again, kind of an older, came out probably 5 or 6 years ago. I actually don't know. Divergent. Actually, I do know. It came out in 2014.
Like the Veronica Roth?
Yep. So my wife and I were looking for a movie to watch, and she was like, Theo James is really hot. And then we just started watching it. And
You know they didn't finish making the movies, right?
well, I can see why. Let me tell you, that movie was bad with a capital B. Sorry to all the Veronica Roth fans out there.
The
It
books
wasn't
weren't
good.
bad.
Did your wife by any chance say Jeremy Strong is really hot? I'm just curious.
She hasn't mentioned that. And also in Succession, like he always looks like tired. Like he's going through stuff.
I mean, that track.
You look better. You look better than he does. But no, the Divergent movie. I'm sure the book is great. I think the premise of Divergent is very interesting. But Divergent, the movie, was so transparently like, oh my God, Hunger Games just came out and it made so much money. Here, other people who are not in the Hunger Games just do that. And that sort of like copycat maneuver is so like cloyingly bad, and it just permeates the entire movie with bad. And I would recommend strongly against watching it, even if you think Theo James is hot, which he is. It's not worth your time, or even it was free. It was on HBO Max, soon to be known as Max, and it was bad. So would recommend against that. And that rounds me out for the week. That's about it. So I'll turn it over to Nerdbomber to finish us out.
So ironic that you mentioned the Hunger Games and that old like YA dystopian era. So I don't know if you guys have heard, but there is actually a Hunger Games prequel book that came out within the last probably 5 years or so. And I remember I bought it when it came out and then it just sat on the bookshelf. Well, they are adapting that, I believe, into a TV show, not a movie. Someone fact checked and correct me.
I think you're right, but I'm not positive.
They are adapting it to some kind of motion picture. And so I figured, this is a good time. I should probably crack open that book that I bought 5 years ago and give that a whirl. So I've been reading that, and it is a like vast prequel to the Hunger Games where, Snow is basically a kid still in high school and interacting with the 10th Hunger Games. And they're trying to make him a sympathetic character, which is difficult to grapple with if you've read the Hunger Games, because he's not a very sympathetic character in those books. But so far, it's pretty good. I mean, it reads a lot like, the original trilogy of the Hunger Games, and can't wait to see where that goes. I'm about probably a third of the way in, so I've got quite a bit more to go, but it's pretty good so far.
It's a ballad of songbirds and snakes?
Yes.
I want to make sure I had that right.
Aside from that, we also watched Murder Mystery 2. I think we mentioned last week or the week before, we watched Murder Mystery finally, which is that Adam Sandler.
Was it good? My wife wants to watch these, and we haven't yet.
The first one I thought was pretty good. Like, you have to go in with expectations that it's an Adam Sandler movie.
Yeah.
The first one I thought was cute. It was kind of like a spoof on, your Knives Out sort of murder mystery type things. The second one, and Techtic, you can weigh in here as well, but the second one I just felt was a little stupider. Like, the first one was dumb humor, but it was at least like entertaining and slightly plausible. The second one was just like not plausible at all. 0%.
So the first one had an idiotic kind of goofball character that was like a tertiary character. The second one focused on that tertiary character.
So you're saying that it went to Jupiter to get more stupider?
Yeah. So like,
second one.
I would watch the first one. I think the second one is still worth watching, but like really lower your expectations. Like really. I didn't think it lived up to the first movie, but I guess sequels rarely ever do. But Jennifer Aniston can still get it, so hey.
She can still get it, yeah.
And then last but not least, I am playing Inscryption, and I was actually really excited about this. I don't necessarily want to go too into detail into what it's about, because I feel like it's one of those games where the less you kind of know about it, the better it is. But I will say that it is a roguelike deck building card game. So the entirety of the game is more or less based around, you winning card battles. The card mechanics, at least in the very beginning, are relatively simplistic and easy to understand, but still, there's a level of, having to think and logic it out that is occurring, especially as you're building your deck. As in any deck builder, there's some strategy into like picking the best cards and how you want to play the game. And it has elements of horror, so there is an underlying story. It's not just, you go in and you are endlessly playing a card game. There is a plot, there is a story. You're progressing through the game. The card game is just the method by which you are progressing through the game. Like I said, I don't want to give a whole lot away. I think, one of the cool parts about the game is discovering things as you continue to play it, because there are, new things that unravel as you keep progressing further in the game. But I would definitely recommend this. I usually don't like spooky things. I don't think this is like particularly spooky scary though. It just kind of has like dark, creepy vibes, but nothing that will really make you like jump out of your seat or turn you away from the game. It runs really great on Steam Deck. If you are a Steam Deck user, that is where I'm playing it, and it runs great. But it's also on pretty much every console at this point, including Switch, I believe Xbox, PlayStation. So anywhere you can play games, you can find it. I think it's not even that expensive of a game. I think the base price is like $20, but it regularly goes on sale. I would give this a whirl, especially if you like card games, board games, and the like. I think this is a really intriguing concept of tying a underlying story to a card game. Very, very cool game. Won a bunch of awards when it came out. It was an indie darling. So definitely recommend. And I know Illeagle, even though he loves card games, is going to take that recommendation and throw it in the trash.
I already have. It's already gone. It's already down there with all the other recommendations.
I know you're a Switch card gamer,
years gone
though,
by.
but like you should seriously look into it. Maybe watch a trailer or so and give it a look, because I think this is up your alley.
Consider it noted.
Especially since you like roguelikes now. Who would have known?
I actually haven't played Returnal in a while. I need to get back to it.
Well, I mean,
yes,
you've been in the
nominally.
tropics, so.
All right. Well, I think you have a quiz for us today.
I do. And, we griped about Netflix kind of bungling the Love is Blind reunion, but we're certainly not going to bungle the Love is Blind trivia.
Wow.
Do you want to walk us through the standings as they stand?
I would love to stand atop the standings, but I'm not. I'm standing below the standings. So Techtic is 4-3. He's top dog at the moment. Nerdbomber 4-4. I am 3-6. Steven, 1-0. Congrats to Steven. So yeah, I need to win. Just always.
All right.
That's where we are.
So as always, our trivia game is Price is Right style, all numbers based. You have to get as close as you can to the correct answer without going over. As always, too, you have a lifeline once per game where you can either use +1 as your answer, which means, going one above the person who answered first, or you can use the number 1 as your answer. Let's get into it, and Techtic will go first, so this will give Illeagle a little bit of an advantage. I don't know if he'll take advantage of the advantage, but we shall see.
A fighting chance. Let's call it a fighting chance, because that's what it is at this point.
If you're familiar with Love is Blind, the concept of the show is that the contestants all start out in pods, and these are rooms where they are soundproof. You can only hear the person on the other side of a wall from you, but you can't see that person. You're basically just talking through speakers at each other, and you have a couch and you have long dates with each other through a wall in these pods. Approximately how many square feet is a pod on Love is Blind?
70 square feet.
That's a really strong guess. I'm going to use my +1 out of the gate and say 71.
All right, so the +1 did work to great effect. The rooms are about 12 feet by 12 feet, leading to a square footage of 144 square feet.
Okay, so we underdid it.
From the show, they look more rectangular.
They have notched edges, which kind of got me. I would have guessed 81, 9 feet by 9 feet. So that's why I +1. I was scared.
Illeagle is currently winning with 1 point, and we have more questions to go. How many days total is the experiment from day 1 in the pods to I do or don't?
Business days?
It's not as long as you think. I'm going to say 21 days, 3 weeks.
We know it's more than that.
Maybe.
It's obvious 22 days.
All right, so both +1s have been used at this point, and Techtic wins this question. They are in for 38 days, so they have 3 weeks outside of the pods after they get engaged, and 10 days.
I knew it was significantly more, but I wanted to level set
It's not
the playing
math.
field.
No, 4 weeks outside of the pods, 10 days
Yeah, there we go.
in the pods. Math is hard.
Okay, so no more +1s. Now we got to actually use our cabases.
It is a tie game. So Cameron Hamilton and Lauren Speed were contestants on the first season of Love is Blind.
The only season
one of
we
the
watched.
OG couples.
You bastard.
And they, are still married, had a successful experiment, if you will. And they actually wrote a book about their experience. How many pages is that hardcover book?
This is 235 pages.
It's less than that. 50.
235 was a very strong guess. It is 272 pages long.
They don't need that many pages to say what we all know, which is that they love each other.
Apparently they do. They go back and forth. I just kind of I didn't read the book, but I was skimming reviews, and apparently they go back and forth. So each chapter is a different person's perspective, kind of like in the pods. But okay, so Techtic is winning 2-1, but
So I need
Illeagle
to get this one.
can still redeem himself. Speaking of contestants on Love is Blind, there was a recent lawsuit where contestants alleged that there were unsafe working conditions, they were overtired, given too much alcohol, and not paid enough for their time. And in that lawsuit was a figure for how much the contestants were paid per week they were on the show. How much were the Love is Blind contestants paid per week on the show?
10 G's. $10,000.
I think that's it. I think that's accurate. I vaguely remember seeing this. I think you might have busted if that is correct. And so I'm going to say this was $1,000 a week.
Techtic, what if I told you that you were right on the money?
Woo!
They are paid $1,000 a week. What is crazy?
Yeah, they're getting underpaid.
Yeah, they're underpaid, especially when you consider how much money Netflix is likely making off Love is Blind as the show. But they are also responsible for doing their own hair and makeup once they are out of the pods. They are responsible for all of their clothes while filming,
It's a side
etc.
hustle, though. It's not meant to be a primary income.
Correct, but they basically become mini superstars.
Yeah, then they get
In
brand
any
deals.
case-
I think they should shut up.
I lost.
You did lose.
Again. Yeah.
But you
Classic.
have a chance to at least go out on a high note with its final question. In 2022, how many days did Love is Blind spend within the Netflix US top 10
Days or weeks?
days?
This was 15 days.
It's way more than that. I don't know, 200?
Oh boy. All right, so Techtic gets this one too because you overestimated.
It's 200. It's 200.
It
200.
spent 86 days in the top 10, more than Cocomelon, Stranger Things, and Ozark, some of the biggest shows of the year as well.
But it was in the top 10 of our hearts for the entire year. So that's fine. Look, I didn't want to win. It's reverse psychology. I'm going to come back stronger than ever next week to take on Nerdbomber.
It makes me stronger.
I'm 3-7. Techtic moves to 5-3. Congratulations to Techtic, and congratulations to me for being a good sport. Participation award. So yeah, next week we'll be back. In the meantime, you heard our Twitter handles. Go hit us up on the Twitter sphere. Let us know what you think of this episode, what you thought of all the things we talked about, what you think of us, what you think of life. Get as deep as you want. We're here to chat with you. You can also head over to Apple Podcasts, leave us a review, constructive criticism, anything you want over on Apple Podcasts. And in the meantime, we'll see you next week. Stay safe and keep on podcasting.